The Morrison government is considering forcing users to social media platforms like Twitter, Facebook and Instagram and dating platforms to upload 100 points of identification in order to use them in an attempt to remove anonymity for those who bully, harass or intimidate others online. But experts say it may only further harm already vulnerable groups and pose serious questions about access to sensitive data and security breaches. Here to help me talk through it now is CEO of Scantek, Ches Rafferty. Ches, thanks for being with us. And first of all, where are you? You're just north of Perth at a beautiful spot called Seabird on the coast. Great place to spend Easter, mate.
Things are starting to calm down a bit around COVID. We've been pretty lucky in Western Australia. So yeah, enjoying the Easter break.
Oh, that's excellent. Now, I want to get your thoughts on what you think about this idea of uploading sensitive information to access or to gain an account on social media. What are your initial thoughts on that?
Look, my initial thoughts is, if it's done correctly, I think it could be a fantastic tool. We've seen so much fake news, trolling, and many cases that have come to light where women have been sexually harassed or abused through dating sites, and those offenders are being banned and then popping up weeks later with new fake identities. So I think done right, my bigger concern is what's the details around this? For example, as you mentioned, where's this data going? Being a shameless plug, I guess, we're an Australian-based company. Our technology is built here. Our data that we collect for our business customers never leaves Australia. I'd have certainly large concerns if international players would come in and this data disappearing outside Australian shores. That'd be my first two thoughts around it.
Well, I immediately think back to the Service New South Wales breach where hundreds of thousands of people's sensitive information was leaked online. Could we see a similar thing if these social media companies have all these documents from people in Australia? I know we want to tackle this issue, but data breaches happen all the time. And should we be giving these companies our sensitive data?
I mean, that data breach was just horrific and should not occur in this era. The fact that someone had a database that was unencrypted that could simply be downloaded out of Amazon Web Services is literally, it's just an egregious failure. What we do at Scantek is we don't let ourselves be the fox guard in the henhouse. The way you make this secure is you set a really advanced framework. The government would have to do this around how we make sure that data is encrypted, how we make sure it never leaves Australian shores. And then what you would do is bring in cybersecurity firms to do what we call penetration testing. That is to deliberately white hack to try and get into our systems and break it. And if you can't pass those tests, then in no way should you be handling sensitive data.
Why don't we do this for all Australian companies who have data?
We should be. I mean, that's something that we do. We work with many of Australia's governments, a lot of work with the Queensland, Western Australian, South Australian government. We hold data on behalf of Telstra and other large organisations. And in every case, we don't say that it's good enough because it's crazy to let one company be the decider of whether or not you're good enough. You bring in these external companies, and all companies absolutely should be engaging cybersecurity firms on a regular basis to make sure that their security is top-notch. And these cybersecurity firms are also really good, not just in terms of trying to break in and see if they can access this data, but also to give you really critical advice. What is industry best practice? What are we seeing the fraudulent actors and even increasingly state actors trying to do? And how do we even further protect that data we're holding on behalf of people? Because at the end of the day, this is these people's data. We need it for business purposes, but it belongs to these individuals, these fellow Australians. So why aren't we making sure that it's secure? To us, it's a first principle thing. If we can't hold the data securely for a business, we just will not do that project. It's unacceptable risk to our fellow Australians.
It's an interesting idea, and I can see the arguments either side. Ches Rafferty from Scantek, thanks so much for joining us on Weekend Live today.
Really appreciate your time.
Happy Easter. Enjoy the rest of your break there on the West Coast too.
Will do. Happy Easter to you.
See you, mate.